Hello, everybody. This is Tristan, or Tristakov, whatever you know me as, and I just wanted to share a little bit of Avania issue number 4, the physical print copy. You can read my comic, Avania, at worldofavania.com as a webcomic for free, or order these physical issues from IndyPlanet, and I'll put the link in the description. And also, you can download digital copies of the full issue from ComiXology. Also, put the link down there for you. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about this issue and about the creation of it and some of those details. So this cover, continuing like cover 3, was this one's not quite literal, still a little metaphorical because everybody didn't gather exactly like this, as you'll see in the comic, but um, mostly like a representative scene of what happened in the comic. And I just like the angle and pose here, showing Charlotte and Una on the wing of their Lancer, landed at Frontier HQ with the main cast: Hans, Rick, Schmidt, Beckenridge there. Mysterious stranger entering the base. So I liked the concept of this, and I think it turned out really well. The only issue was this was an issue overall. I spent a lot of time trying to get the lightness of the page and also adjust the saturation accordingly, because the monitor that I started drawing this comic on years ago just wasn't very good. It didn't show color very well, and I had the brightness pumped up a lot, so it meant everything I created on it looked fine to me, but was significantly darker in actuality. So when I printed it, it came out a lot darker, and that made me compensate by lightening it when I printed. But it threw everything off because I was kind of taking a guess at what the result would be rather than being able to see a much more accurate representation of it. But I finally got a new IPS 2K display a year or two ago that shows color much better and is pretty close to what print is. So like if it looks good on the screen, I can be reasonably sure it's going to look good in print for the most part. There are some differences, and that's why changing these comics over to print from their digital formats took a long time, because I wanted it to look as best as it could. So as you can see, the interiors are in black and white, and the interior cover and covers are in color. So we just got a pin up here of the three main supporting guys at Frontier HQ: Schmidt, Rick, and Hartland taking a nap in the back there. And now, I think it didn't draw full attention to it last issue, but last issue, the credits pages started being part of the story as well, not just a little splash page. So like in this one, Hans and Rick are reacting to the Black Lanterns approaching overhead, and this was just a fun shot doing just some big architecture. And because it's the credits page, there's not too much else going on. It's all just one big panel. And yeah, this is where I really just came to simultaneously love and hate bricks. And yeah, architecture stuff is kind of fun to draw, but I tend to make stuff really detailed, so it's sort of the bane of my existence as well. Anyway, they arrive, and Una does a flyby, kicking up a bunch of dust. And this is where this chapter specifically had a little bit of trouble. I think I have the values pretty well adjusted for print now, and it looks good in digital and in print. But the dust overlays and the light grades that went over the dust lightened up the line art and the values of the fills more than I wanted, and at least in print, it made everything look really washed out, which I didn't want. So I had to adjust that a little bit for print. Most of the time now, with my new monitor, everything looks more or less the same in both. I do adjust a little bit, like make the contrast a little higher for print. And also because like the blur affects the distance blur and stuff translates better in digital than it does in print. I do have it in here, but I realized I kind of liked the sharpness of the line art in print better, but the style overall is kind of intended to look like film animation. So I did just end up leaving that in here. I'm not going to separate the print style from the digital style too much. The only thing that's different is I have a little bit of chromatic aberration effects on the digital issues, which isn't present here because that needs to be in color, even though the art itself is black and white. Anyway, the Black Lanterns start landing. Hans goes out to greet them. Here's another point where having what's on the next page be a reveal comes into play, left on Hans's bewildered expression. And then have a big reveal for Scarlet, the captain of the Black Lanterns. And I like that. Just big, focused panel. And then that's Una arcing overhead after a flyby. So you have a little introduction at a distance. Two frickin' dames. Ingwen and Scarlet, and then of Morsley and Mayfair. Rick is overjoyed, as are most everyone else at Frontier XQ, except for Heartwind, who's still asleep. And then the second one. This is a more unconventional page layout, because one of Roll's characteristics is being very tall and full-figured. She gets an entire side of a page for her panel, kind of leaning out of the transport aircraft she flies. So ComiXology did a little bit of a weird thing. I made this like the last panel of the guided view. You don't have to read in guided view if you download on ComiXology, but that was the one time I thought they did it kind of strange, because it's meant to be, they're talking about the plane here, then Rick gets extremely excited, and he's literally looking off panel toward Roll. So I would have made that like the third panel, and then at the very end you could zoom out and show the whole thing, because I mean, it's to show her whole height, but obviously you're looking more at the above half of this panel. Anyway, then Hans goes out and talks to Harry, and Harry doesn't get any respects. But Hans gets directed, get some light coming in here. Hans gets directed to go over. So McIntyre gets a cool introductory scene here, and I like that. Big shot of the Lancer with him standing up on top. So they talk. We have a very efficient transition by having the little deployable boarding ladder fold and telescope out of the wing to transition McIntyre to being on the ground without wasting too much time of showing him have to climb down a ladder. And then they shake just as Una finally comes in for landing, and I liked how this turned out a lot. And I think it still looks pretty good in print, but especially in digital, the motion blur on the Lancer going by with the two guys here and sharper detail. So there are a lot of effects going on with this panel in particular, and there's already a lot of dust and stuff in the environment from all the aircraft landing on this dusty runway. And then once Una gets down there, the dust goes absolutely crazy, which, like I said, that took a little bit of adjustment with printing because it was washing out the tones too much, which wasn't as noticeable in digital. So Scarlet makes her introduction. Charlotte and Una have a quick argument, and then Una solves it by immediately asking Hans for a smoke. But fortunately, that works out well, because he always has one. Or a whole pack. This page, I like the art in it, and that slash ended up working out pretty efficiently. But this kind of the subset of panels in here, just like doing a panel by panel pan up for each character. It's not the most elegant overall composition, I think. It probably could have been better, but I try to keep all my chapters to 10 page, or rather all my issues to 20 interior comic pages, whereas the chapters can vary a little bit more, but I usually try to hit around 10 pages for each chapter and have 2 chapters in each issue. So I didn't want to spread this out too much. If it was a webcomic and only a webcomic, or I had variable interior page counts for the issues or something, I could have made that another page, making it more of a aesthetic composition overall. So that was the only thing I didn't like, is it's kind of an awkward composition when you take the whole page into account. And the rest of these are my basic 8-panel, I call it, because a lot of the functional pages just end up being 8 pages stacked in various ways, which generally works out because I can have a lot of characters or some bigger close-ups, and there's a lot of text, so it just ended up being a good amount of panels for my pages and good enough pacing. And when you're reading it as a physical issue or in the digital issues, you can still see the art quite well. On the webcomic, it's intentionally downscaled because that's the free version, but you can still zoom in if you want. It just won't be quite as crisp as if you get the digital issues or the physical issues, because this is the format it was really intended for, not for a compressed webcomic image. So anyway, the Black Lanterns and Frontier HQ guys meet, have a quick encounter. Hans kind of loses his suave captain approach because Rick can really get to him. They got a history together. But the Black Lanterns are officially here, and the 4th issue, this was kind of the first one outside of my original foundation for the comic, because the first 3 issues were sort of derived from the original first issue concept, and I bulked up each segment so the characters would get a little more time to establish themselves before they met, and then so the 4th issue was like the first one after all of that, and obviously where they meet, so that's a big shift since you're combining these 2 groups of characters, and now they can interact between groups rather than just among themselves. So now, whoa, this is kind of spicy. Can I show this on YouTube? Valenvarius has begun his infiltration plan. So he discusses it with Eisern, what magic would be most useful. And booty magic is, I guess, what he settled on. So Valenvarius says his very extra transformation sequence, which, yeah, that's also a reference. And Eisern's pose there is a reference too. Valenvarius transforms himself to blend in a little bit better with birds. And, yeah, he's pretty fabulous. But he still has to get a uniform. So he sneaks in to the sentries, who aren't really the best sentries because it's Frontier HQ and there's not usually a lot going on, and if you get sent to Frontier HQ, you probably didn't have a lot going on either. So I like this page, though, his interaction with the hapless sentry here. So he's able to get close enough to use his magic to knock the sentry into a kind of hypnotic state, and then drags him over to the side and leaves the flask with him, so he isn't too suspicious. And then Valenvarius sneaks in, momentarily wearing his cap, and then literally bumps into Rick, who, thanks to Valen's inherent magic charm, immediately is friendly. Rick's friendly anyway, but immediately takes to him. And in fact, it works a little bit too well when Valenvarius is able to pass off what he's doing there and who he is. Rick instead invites him to get a drink at the cantina, which this is a nice two-page spread as well. I really liked detailing this because this was a new interior environment for Frontier HQ, and this is the cantina, and it has a lot of kind of memorabilia and other stuff, both from the Avanian military, and also like advertisements just from the period as well. Focus. And so Rick introduces disguised Valen to Heartwind. Never quite gets his name, but Schmidt over here is curious and sees what's going on. But then Rick gets distracted and ends up, will you focus? Ends up talking with Max. They talk about the girls for a sec. Valen gets some intel on his objective and sneaks out. Doesn't sneak out, he just walks out. Makes a quick contact with Izern. You'll notice the Demonians communicate via magic mirrors, like a little voice chat, or not voice chat, video chat. Izerns provide an overwatch as Valen approaches his target. However, Schmidt is onto him, wonders what he's up to, but thanks to his magical infiltration skills, Valen's able to get into the trailer with Breckenridge. That's his field office. And Breckenridge's Sergeant Steiner comes out, perhaps behaving a little unusually. And that's that. So, the fourth issue that doesn't have any larger time skips, that one continues. Well, I guess from the third issue, that continues pretty continuously, and then because the viewpoints are merged, it flows more seamlessly. You're not taking a big jump in viewpoint. But anyway, just wrapping up here, a little standalone Avania mail talking about the Lancers specs, their airships. And you can submit your own question at worldofavania.com/mail. And of course, you can read the webcomic itself at worldofavania.com. And I got a ton of these other Avania mail comics, which talk about all kinds of stuff from the characters to the setting, usually in the format of a character answering a question, and you could submit your own anonymously or with a Tumblr account, whatever you want. And you can also buy posters, pins, stickers from the Avania PX here, avaniapx.square.site. And yeah, those I ship out myself. But the comics, if you want the comics, get those at IndyPlanet. Those ship out directly from there because they're printed and shipped on demand. And you can get those at the link in the description. And then for the interior, back interior cover, Valen and Izern got a pin-up, and this was one I liked a lot. There's a lot of detail, like in how I did their hair, and that sort of set the bar for how I wanted to render hair in line, since most of the time I'm not doing highlights via the coloring or the shading. It's just going to be through the line art, so I really tried to improve my skills with inking like shiny objects and how I wanted to convey shading through just the line art alone. But then when you add color, it ends up looking pretty cool, and then they got the sparklies and stuff overlaid, so that was a pretty cool pinup, I think. And then wrapping everything up, this time the advertisement is from the FHR, the Free Hekovar Republic, which, as of the present of the comic, is occupied by Austria, but this is an ad from there, and as you can see, they're strongly based on Celtic attire, like Highlanders and clans and stuff. So, fairly straightforward there, but it was kind of a fun illustration to do. They have a more romanticized kind of culture. But they still smoke, because everybody in this comic smokes. Anyway, that's issue number 4. So you can download digital copies at ComiXology and order physical copies, like I just showed you, on IndyPlanet, or read the webcomic for free at worldofavania.com. And I'll put all the links in the description. And stay tuned. I got one more issue that is printed and available, so I'll cover that next time. Thanks. Bye.